enough to handle all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he's just really, really good at football.
So what I'm hearing is it's because he's productive and maybe not the fantasy angle. I don't know.
Ask him.
Ask him. Marcus, I presume you agree with just about everything.
Yeah, I'm sure. If you don't want to get fired, get the ball to the best player.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Number two is I think what people fail to mention, and one thing that Christian McCaffrey has always been, was a football junkie, because that's been his entire life. His dad played wide receiver, as you mentioned it. So he's understood the game. And sometimes we all know, when you get to the pro level, the mental part is the biggest hurdle. And for him to come in and understand concepts and routes, for him to understand what he needs to do in the backfield, he's a tremendous football player. Like you said, very multiple. But I think people discount the fact that this dude has been engulfed in football his entire life. So the league was not a big step for him. Physically, it was a step, but mentally and what he's able to do on the field and how quick he's able to think about how he needs to approach the game, that's like sleeping for him.
Which is interesting, because players talk about the speed of the game and that step from college to the NFL and how difficult that is.
Yeah, and I was going to say, watching tape on him, certainly last year, but in week one, the strength that he plays with.
Yes.
Like we put Saquon Barkley at the top because of the strength, mainly because those quads, right? McCaffrey runs just as violent, just as physical and strong. We saw it at that final clip in the goal line.
Coach, let me ask you this, simply because of the offseason shoulder surgery, the foot may be just a bit banged up still, although not expected to be serious. Do you have any longer-term concerns about Cam Newton?
Cam? No, I think Cam's going to have a great year. I think maybe start a little slow based on being a little bit banged up, but can I just finish on Christian? I saw him play in high school. My son Luke played with him at Valor Christian. He can play DB, too. I mean, this guy is a football player.
Yeah.
He'll get punt returns, blocking, whatever it takes. He's a football player. He can do it all. Off to a great start, obviously. But Cam, I think Cam is going to be in good shape. He's going to heal up. He's tremendously gifted. He's the biggest guy on the field. He's the fastest guy on the field. And they'll find ways. Norv Turner will do a great job of finding ways to get him involved and more involved as they go.
Well, today on NFL Live, amidst all the news and all the comings and goings, we also pause to remember. We do not forget all those lives lost 18 years ago today on September 11th, and we express extreme gratitude again to all those early responders who ran in as everyone else ran out.
On Antonio's situation, both Antonio and his representatives have made statements, and so I'm not going to be expanding on any of those. They are what they are. We've looked into the situation. We're taking it very seriously, all the way through the organization. Sure, there are questions, but I'm not going to be entering into a discussion about that today. So we're up.
Bill, were you aware of the lawsuit when you signed Antonio Brown?
I'm not going to be expanding on the statements that have already been given.
Don't you think the fans deserve to hear a little more from you on
when we know more, we'll say more.
That, could impact the team?
Yeah, I just said that.
Don't you think fans deserve to hear a little bit more?
When we know more, we'll say more.
Are you preparing to have Antonio Brown at practice today?
Yes.
And are you preparing for him to play on Sunday?
We're taking it one day at a time, just like we always do.
Are you preparing for the possibility that he could be on the commissioner's?
We're preparing for one day at a time.
The Patriots were on the practice field this afternoon at 12:40. Antonio Brown was there working out with the team, wearing, at least for now, the number 1. His 84, of course, worn currently by Benjamin Watson. Ryan Smith joins us now, our chief legal analyst here at ESPN. And once again, just to be clear, there are no criminal charges, and at this point, no criminal investigation.
Right.
It's simply a civil suit.
And if there was, it'd be a totally different scenario. This is not a criminal case. If it was a criminal case, he'd be looking at criminal court. If convicted, he'd be looking at possible jail time, fines, all of that. That's not what's happening here. What happened is this young woman is claiming that Antonio Brown sexually assaulted her on multiple occasions and that she suffered pain and suffering. And as a result, she is entitled to damages because of what she's had to go through. In a criminal case, very different from a civil, because in a criminal case, you got to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. Here, it's just preponderance of the evidence. Is it more likely than not in front of a civil jury that her allegations are true? So a much lower bar for her to prove her case if this goes to trial.
We also know that the NFL can levy punishment, suspensions, fines, regardless of any kind of suit for conduct detrimental. They will begin their own investigation, Josina. Where does that stand, and how will that take place?
Well, certainly that is at the league's disposal via Article 46 in the collective bargaining agreement, where the commissioner, at his discretion, can make an assertion as to what conduct detrimental is, regardless of whether he's found guilty or whether there is a, just anything that's found out that is, proven in terms of criminally in the future. Because right now, there is no criminal investigation, but there is something that the police could potentially open up if they wanted to. And I think that when you look at the fact that she has claimed that she had text messages from Antonio Brown, allegedly, that she also made claims that she told his chef about certain things that he did in regards to a sexual act that was not at her consent near her, that she also informed her mom. In these situations, you're always looking at what can be proven, not necessarily just what is alleged from both sides. That's what it's going to come down to, especially in the situation where she's demanding a trial in front of a jury of both of their peers, which should be an interesting scenario if that goes forth. We also know that a federal judge has been named in this case right now by the name of Rodney Smith, who was also from the same area as Antonio Brown, and we'll see, how his dispositions kind of weigh in on this case as well.
Marcus, you're inside that Patriot locker room. Antonio Brown has been a member of that organization for 48, 72 hours. Now this, walk me through the mindset.
You separate what your emotion possibly is from what your job actually is. And I think this is the thing that's hard for people, because everybody wants the emotional reaction immediately. And as players in the locker room, a lot of people have to understand that when you're in the NFL locker room, that's your livelihood. That's your job. And you try to create a culture around yourself as an individual where you hold yourself not only to a standard, but when I step into this building, it's about playing football, practicing football, and trying to win games. You do have the emotional part. It's not like you can isolate how you feel about the particular situation. But what you're contractually supposed to do, the reason why you are there at that building, is to try to become the best football player you can be and help your team win. And it sounds insensitive when we're talking about this on a grand scale, but that is absolutely how you have to approach it if you're in that locker room as a football player.
Well, to that point, there's a huge sign when you walk in the Patriots locker room. It has 3 words: do your job.
Yeah.
And that's the way they approach it. We'll see. Again, Bill Belichick leaving the door open as to whether Antonio Brown will play on Sunday in Miami. Meanwhile, the Steelers trying to bounce back. They will host the Seahawks this week. It is a rematch of Super Bowl 40. Pittsburgh coming off that ugly 30-point loss to the Patriots. The offense failed to reach the end zone. The Steelers have only started 0-2 one time under Mike Tomlin. Here's our reporter, Jeremy Fowler.
Wendy, Ben Roethlisberger placed the blame squarely on himself, coming off that disastrous 33-3 loss at New England. Quarterback's got to play better, Ben said today from his locker. But he can point to the past for optimism. The last time the Steelers scored 3 points in a game was 2016 at Philly. That next week they poured 43 points on the Chiefs. So asked how this team responds from bad losses, Roethlisberger simply pointed to the sky.
Well, you know that I told the guys on Monday when we came in here, we were out doing our run and stuff. I said, hey guys, look up. I said, the sun's still shining, the sky's still blue. And the best thing is we still get to play on Sunday. I mean, it's week 1. We started a few years ago, we started 0-4, I believe. It's a long season. Half the teams off their first game.
The Steelers' offense won't be getting a drastic overhaul, but that doesn't mean a few changes might not be in order. Roethlisberger said he met early Wednesday morning with offensive coordinator Randy Fichtner to go over the Seattle game plan and how they want to call the game. And despite multiple drops from Dante Moncrief last week, Big Ben said he will continue to look his way. Back to you, Wendy.
Jeremy, thank you. We say hello again now to Coach Jack Del Rio, Dan Orlovsky, as we play some musical chairs here with so much going on. Listen, cause for concern, panic level. Where are we? 0 to 10. Marcus, I'll start with you. With regard to the Steelers, who, let's be clear, did face probably the best team in football.
I'm going to go 6.
All right. That's about where I'd land.
I'm going to go 6. And I would like to be higher for shock value, but here's the deal. You're still dealing with professional athletes. And the job for them, Mike Tomlin and Ben Roethlisberger in particular, is to make sure that they identify the things that they need to do better in order to have this team prepared to play. I know everybody wants to give them a pass because it was the New England Patriots and we expect people to lose like this. But I'm more concerned about how it looked, right? Sometimes how you lose is very important and valuable when you talk about evaluating your performance. The Steelers looked clueless at times about their identity offensively, what guy would show up. Juju was having the best game, but still, as a number one receiver, people expect you to show up and have huge numbers, especially when you're playing with a Hall of Fame quarterback. So my level is 6 because I don't know if this team is recovering from the talent that they've lost.
I'm going to piggyback on that. I'm going to go we're saying 10 is like extreme.
Yeah, 10 is like,
Get
Houston,
some clarity.
we have a major problem.
I want to see where it was.
Okay.
I'll say 7, not much more than Marcus. Here's why, because the whole conversation and question around this football team all offseason was, all right, they got rid of Le'Veon Bell. Well, Le'Veon left on his own and then got rid of AB. Who's going to replace that production? In week 1, we saw that production is right now there's no one to replace that. We talked about Juju Smith-Schuster and the double teams were going to come to him, and so somebody outside of Juju was going to have to step up. James Washington or Amon Creep, Deontay Johnson. No one did in week 1. Now Juju wasn't doubled that much either, so no one new is coming into that locker room at receiver, and so until you answer that question. Until somebody steps up and becomes that viable number 2, because in the past it was, as you sat down as a coordinator, what are we going to do with AB and what are we going to do with Le'Veon? Now they sit down and go, all right, how are we going to kind of slow Juju down? And until someone steps up, that I've got concern over them.
Are we raising the level of panic, or
I'm not gonna get into the numbers right now.
Okay. I'm
not going with numbers.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I'll give you numbers. I'm going to give you 10 carries for 21 yards, and that's what James Conner did. And that's not enough for running the ball. So the question is, one person that's missing this year is not Le'Veon, all right, not AB.
Okay.
It's offensive line coach Mike Munchak, all right, who was one of the best in the business. And I think last year they were able to absorb losing Le'Veon because of Mike Munchak. They no longer have Mike. So I think you saw a little bit of that to start the season. I don't think Ben's protection is going to be quite as good. I don't think the running game is going to be quite as good.
Nah, Coach, they said this whole line, the reason why they ran the ball like that.
Yeah.
It was the guy.
Well, that's right. And the guy that led that O-line was Mike
Munchak's in Denver
Munchak.
now? Coach Munchak's in Denver now, right?
He's that good. I think Mike's that good.
Yeah.
Well, Sunday snapped Ben Roethlisberger's 26-game streak of throwing a touchdown. So, listen, streaks are made to be broken. Got to start another one.
47 times.
Yeah.
That's
but
glaring.
not into
Like
the
to your
end zone.
point, Coach. You got to figure out balance, man.
That's right. All right.
Pittsburgh runs the ball.
Well, live to play another day. That's exactly what they do. And we will do the same as NFL Live continues. The NFL has told OBJ to watch out, but the Browns wide receiver says he'll continue to wear his timepiece. Is OBJ's fame or the game more important?